Welcome back to Workplace Wellness Strategies. I am your host, Derek Anderson with the Elevate Performance Group. Today, our guest is awesome. She's a renowned real estate advisor, philanthropist, and does a lot to contribute to personal and professional networking and development. She is also incredibly passionate about health and wellness. Miss Amber Fortier. Amber, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well today. Thank you so much for being here. So, in the past, we really connected about prioritizing self care because this can be really hard for a lot of us to do. Even wellness experts like myself have had to struggle with this. So, what's your experience with prioritizing self care? What are some elements that can make it really, really hard to put first sometimes?
So I'm gonna say one thing, like women versus men. This is a big thing for us. And I was in a group last week, a workshop called Compassion Fatigue, and it was all women, and we all had similar things in common. Like we're the ones who run the house, we're the ones who do the shopping, the cooking, and it's like all these things fall on us. In addition to running a business and going to work and doing everything. So sometimes like just the roles, how they're designed in life and how they're designed in our households do put more on one person versus the other. But then with men, there's other, maybe they're the breadwinner and they have that pressure. So sometimes that's why it's hard to prioritize self-care because you're responsible for so many things just to keep life running, to keep a household running, to keep, even just simple things like meal planning and things like that. So sometimes, well, like yourself takes a back seat, or you feel like you're being selfish because there's all these other people in your life or your house that you need to be caring for first. And so you just kind of keep pushing yourself, you know what I mean, last because it's easiest to neglect yourself. If you neglect other people, you have guilt. But when you neglect yourself, you don't have guilt for some reason. And it's not being selfish. It's not me instead, it's me too. And I heard that term last week that you need to think of it as that way. Like I'm included in this.
It's a really cool program. When you were experiencing that, did you have an issue sharing your experiences with the other women in there, or was it everyone pretty open, free to talk?
Some people were a little more reserved. I'm kind of an open book. And when things bother me or, I feel like I can give value to someone, like I don't mind talking about things. And then as I started saying stuff, people were like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, see, we're all the same. We all deal with the same type of, you know what I mean? No matter what kind of work we're in, no matter what our family or like home structure is, we all deal with similar things. So we were able to kind of come together. And that's when someone mentioned, like, I'm pretty sure because all of us in the room were entrepreneurs. So this lady's like, I'm sure all of us are overachievers. We're all go-getters. We were probably all A students. It's okay to get a B. It's okay to do B work. And all of us were like, no, no, it's not. And it's like, it is. Not every single thing I do has to be an A or an A plus. Like it's okay to get a B or a B minus because it's still adequate. It still gets the job done. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to. So sometimes it's like letting go and just accepting it's okay.
As a 2.5 student myself, I totally agree with you. Let's get that degree.
Yeah, and I wasn't even a big like in school. I mean I applied myself enough, but I was always on the honor roll and stuff like that. And the first time I got a B minus on a test, I actually cried.
Did
That's
your
why when
parents
she said
like kind
that,
of kind of motivate you with like financial rewards or anything like that? Just out of
not at
curiosity.
all. Not at all. It was just something I knew I could and it didn't take that much effort. So I was like, well, why wouldn't I do this? You know what I mean? So yeah, it wasn't like I was 4.0 or anything, but it's like I did give myself some slack eventually because I'm like, okay, yeah, B isn't the end of the world. It's fine. But the first time I was like, wait, what?
One of my self-care issues was being really self-critical. And as a fellow entrepreneur and someone we connect on it, I'm sure you've been through that too, like wanting that A, right? I always hated school, but the one A I got one time in biology when the teacher called me out and doubted me, I'm like, I'm going to show you. So, yeah, that was always a motivator for me. But talking about prioritizing self-care, one thing is that's really hard is there's so many layers to it, right? There's the basic stuff of nutrition and fitness and maintaining your weight and your mental health, but it goes so much deeper than that. And when people take on all of these things at once on top of their life responsibilities with their career, with their family, it can be really, really difficult. So, from your experience, what layer of self care was the hardest for you, and how did you get over that barrier?
So when I first started real estate, I very much like stay up till midnight, looked like scouring listings and doing all this stuff, and like felt like I constantly had to like make myself available and I had to respond within a certain amount of time. And after a while, I realized like it's not true. The grind culture that all of us just think that we have to be a part of, I let that go. It took me like maybe 3 years. But I kind of stopped working out as much because I'd stay up late on my computer. I'd get a bad night's sleep. I'd wake up late. I'm like, well, it's already 10. I'm finally getting out of bed. I can't work out. I have to start working. And so I got into a really bad cycle. And then I started, gaining weight. And then when you gain weight, you don't feel good about yourself and your clothes don't fit well. So when I go into a meeting with a new client, I don't present myself in the best manner because my self confidence, you know what I mean, takes a hit. So I really had to realize, like, no, you need to be on a schedule, even though you're self-employed and maybe you don't have any meetings. Doesn't mean you should stay in bed till 9. It doesn't mean you should stay up till. So eventually, I kind of got on a better schedule. I go to bed every night by like 10:30. I set my alarm for 6:45. Just like 4 months ago, I started a new routine in the morning. And like my husband doesn't talk to me until I'm done. He knows just I get out of bed, I go to our home gym, I do deep breathing exercises for 10 minutes. I can't meditate. I'm not a yoga meditation. Like it's hard for me to shut my brain off. So this has been like a process for me. But yeah, I just do deep breathing and then I do some stretches. That way I get some like stretches, whether I work out or not that day, I at least like loosen up some stuff in my body. And then I do my gratitudes. I say everything I'm grateful for in my life every single day to remind myself. And then I go and write my affirmations. And that sometimes is a half hour, sometimes it's an hour. Then when I want to work out after that, it's like, okay, now there's that process. So it's like sometimes you're like, I can't spend 4 hours on self-care. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you do? So that's just kind of something. Since I have a couple injury things they're not minor, but I can't lift weights right now anyway. So I'm like, that's been my new morning routine. Is just kind of a more calm, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you did affirmations and then you brought it up, so that's great. And I love that you do it in the morning. For everyone listening, if you want to do your gratitudes and affirmations, morning's the best time because you have the least resistance from your subconscious mind. You can rewire those pathways to think like new ways in your subconscious because we're not even aware of our thoughts most of the time. So thanks for bringing that up. And everybody listening, I recommend just start light, like 10 to 20 gratitudes and maybe just a few I am affirmations and build off of that. It can do amazing things.
It can. And I started doing it a couple years ago and it only lasted maybe 2 weeks. And then we did a Zoom through my networking group, a mastermind. It was like, what is your morning routine? And mine was like, well, I make my husband's coffee, I turn my plants, I feed my dogs. Mine's not like constructive whatsoever. And everyone else is like, oh, I read for, a business book or not self-help, but some sort of, you know what I mean? Like a book for their personal growth. And so everyone had all the, and I'm like, oh man, like, okay, I need to, you know what I mean, step this up and adjust. And I swear to you, as soon as I started doing that, my phone started ringing in and business started coming in again. I had a slow year last year. And I was getting really discouraged. And I had actually kind of been like, oh, well, I'm just done for the year. It's fine. And then as soon as I started this constructive routine again in the morning, and one of my affirmations was I attract people who value me. So for all of November, that was my affirmation I wrote down. I wound up getting 2 clients into escrow in December that came out of nowhere.
Nice.
So it's like I'm like, no, it's true. What you put out there comes back to you. What you focus on grows. So I just very much started putting my like efforts into those positive things. And it's helped a lot. Plus it starts you off in a good set of mind for the day. If you just go on Facebook and see all the bad news and like the fires right now, and like it's too much. So I'm like, if you start your day in a better way, most of your day is probably going to be better.
It's so good and it's hard to trust it sometimes. Like when you feel discouraged or you want something, you're really putting yourself in a place of lack. And it's hard to just kind of trust the energy that it's going to come to you. But when you can just be aware of what's around you instead of feeling a certain way, just acknowledge it and see it. Like a good meditation technique that you all should try, and I hope you try this too, is just to stare at a candle flame for 15 minutes. When you inhale, you look right at the flame. When you exhale, you look more peripheral. Just put this on repeat for 15 minutes and see what you can become aware of. And it's a good way to break into meditation because it can be really hard to turn our minds off sometimes.
It's very hard. So that's why I'm like, I just have calming music and like do my thing. And then right now I'm having to do some specific things for my back and stuff. So I'm like, instead of like heavy metal that I would normally listen to if I'm in my gym, it's just calming, almost like if you're getting a massage or, that kind of music. And it does help instead of getting like her, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it changes and I don't hear the angry lyrics and like get, pumped. Instead I am calm, I am relaxed. I'm letting everything kind of just like letting it go.
You're the
So
first fellow metalhead on this podcast, so this is awesome to hear.
people are always surprised. My lender, the first time he got in my car, I forgot to turn my volume down. And like, I think it was Five Finger Death Punch or something came on. He's like, oh my God.
There's some good ones out there. Cannibal
Yeah,
Corpse,
it
Pillface
scared
Smith.
him. It scared him. He's like, I thought you were to have like Britney Spears. I'm like, no, not at all. That's not me. But yeah, people
To
are
all those listening, we
Listen to
listen to
Britney
Britney
Spears
Spears
too.
too.
You
You
gotta,
gotta,
you
you
gotta
gotta
mix
mix
it up.
it up.
So, one thing we discussed is the importance of learning how to say no. And it can be really hard as people pleasers because the fear of letting someone down or not being enough for them. And as we talked about this recently on this episode, like working too late or giving too much of yourself, worried about letting them down. But really, they're not even really thinking about us or worried about it. And we're actually doing them a disservice when you're working more than you have to give. The quality of what you're providing is not going to be as good. So, how did you personally learn to say no? Was there any techniques or methods you took on that kind of helped you through that avenue?
well, I mean, at some point I just looked at myself and was like, your clothes don't fit. You feel bad about yourself. Like you don't like what you see, you know what I mean? And then like you're getting complaints from home that you're on your phone too much or you know what I mean? Like your relationship isn't doing so well. So it's like things started happening to me that I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like, my career wasn't going the way I wanted it to go. So at some point I just had to go, okay, get on a schedule, stick to things. Like I'm, and I'm really bad. Like I've started recently, just like a lot of things I've started recently, just writing stuff down every day that I need to get done that day, like regardless of what it is. And then, as I think of things, I add it as I do things because I'll be like, oh, I could keep everything in my head. But then I'm like, oh, wait, no. And then I bounce everywhere. So it's like, even just getting on my own schedule and then setting times for things. So it's like, hey, I'm not like it's not a specific time blocking, but it's like for the next hour, I'm working on this project, no matter who asks me for what, no matter if my husband comes in my office and wants to talk, no matter what, like I just need to focus on this. And then for at least an hour or until it's done, whichever. And then, you know what I mean? And then move on to the next thing. Cause I'm very much, I can have 50 projects at one time. And when I get an idea, I'm like, I have to start it. That's just how I am. And it's like, dealing with my own personal things is hard too. So sometimes it's saying no to my own self about, and even my husband's like, how much more are you going to take on? I was like, as much as and it's like, okay, I've hit my max. Like I have real estate, I run a networking group, I run a philanthropy group, and I am a member of like one other networking thing. And I'm like, I can't join any more things. I can't take on. And so I've started myself, but a big thing that I did do, I just set hours and they're pretty generous. It's 8 to 8. Like those are my office hours. So if someone texts me at like 8:15, I'll respond tomorrow. Where it used to be like, oh, I can respond. We're just watching TV. But it's like, even though me and my husband are just watching TV, like we're present. We're both on the couch and like it's just about being present with each other. And I will get caught up sometimes and he's like, why are you on your phone? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be. Um, I make exceptions for clients. Like I work with like nurses, firefighters, police officers, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, if they work until 8 and there's really something we have to talk about, I'll make an exception. But in general, and I used to be scared. Well, if I tell people I'm not available and they're going to find a new realtor, well, guess what? Let them. Because if they can't respect my time and respect that I'm also a human being and I have family obligations, I have a life, like I have friends, I don't want to work with them anyway. So, you don't call your CPA at 1 a.m. You don't call your attorney at 1 a.m. You don't call your doctor. Well, I'm a professional too. And if I want to be seen as a professional and treated as a professional, then I need to set boundaries just like any other professional. And once I started doing that, it's fine. And I actually will have people text me on Sunday, like, if this is your day off, wait till tomorrow to respond. I just wanted to like get it off my plate. And I'm like, no, I don't actually take a day off unless it's, a special thing, but in general. So it's like I found that when I actually do set boundaries and just tell people this is what I do, they actually appreciate it. And I've had nobody give me, you know what I mean? They actually really respond well and respect it.
Was
So
was it hard to set those boundaries with clients and colleagues initially? And what was the steps you took to kind of just get through that? Because it can be hard.
I honestly just decided to do it. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is what I'm doing. And again, like if people can't accept it, then I don't. But I also got to a point where I had enough work. Like, because when I first started, I'm like, no, I need every single client, I need every single deal. And I shouldn't have thought that way because it made me start off wrong. It made me start off, you know what I mean? Just like burning myself out and getting nowhere. So it was like once I started talking to people who, I knew a realtor, she doesn't work Sundays no matter what. It doesn't matter what's going on. She just does not work Sundays. And I was like, how do you function? How do you survive in this business not working a Sunday? Like, what if that's the only day your client can like see a house? She's like, I'll pay another agent to go show it for me. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, but I don't have money to be paying everyone to do, you know what I mean? So it was like, then I finally figured it out. And I have some good relationships with other agents where if I do need help, you know what I mean? I have someone who can help me. But it's a weird business. Like honestly, it's different than most businesses, the way it operates and how things work. So it's like it just took time. I mean, I'll hit 10 years in October. So this has been a process for me and I'm still learning and I'm still adjusting and still changing things. But yeah, it's just you start seeing like things aren't working. Like things aren't where I wanted them to be. Like I am a business owner because I want to be in control of things and like I felt out of control. So
To
To any,
anyone listening who feels like they could benefit from setting a boundary and you have fear to do it, my advice is to take that fear as a good sign. Like, anytime you're scared to do something, that's usually a good energetic like feeling that you should do this or go do it because you're going to benefit from it. If you get over that hurdle, your life will change significantly. Do you have any advice yourself for anyone who needs to set a barrier or prioritize self-care? Like, what would you encourage them to do just to get through it, to start take that first step to their goals?
like first of all you have to look at like where is it lacking, like are you someone who is exercising so like you don't need more time for that, are you someone who just like needs more stress release, do you need more alone time, so you need to identify like where that, you know what I mean,
mhm.
what you need to do and then just put it on your calendar just like you would an appointment, just like this podcast. Like it was on my calendar for today, so I knew it was happening. Put self care on your calendar. Put certain things, like if it's just a 10-minute meditation every afternoon at 2 o'clock because you need a break, put it on your calendar and then do it. So I took a class last week and a lot of, I learned a lot of stuff like that. Like someone even said, they're like, literally, I will sit at my desk for 8 hours. I won't even get up to pee. I won't get up to refill my water, nothing. So they put it on their calendar like every 2 hours, get up and like refill your water bottle. And they had to train themselves to like do those. Where me, like, I'm like, really, water? Like, I just get water. But for some people, it's not that easy. So it sounds silly, but if you have to put those little tiny things that you need to do for yourself, put them on your calendar. And then you just start getting used to it.
Yeah, that's great. Writing it down too makes it more likely to happen. And
Yeah.
And
also
also
just
this
being
being
aware of
aware.
how you learn, right? If you're visual like that, writing it down, calendar, perfect. Sometimes alarms, an audio learner, like whatever works best for you, integrate that into your life.
Yeah, because there's no like clear cut, do it that like you have to do this, you have to do this. Just like kind of you know how you are and you know who you are. So try to figure out ways, you know what I mean, that actually work for you and that are gonna work for your family and that, and if you are someone like who runs a household, you might have to have a meeting and sit down and tell your kids and your husband, look, I'm gonna need these things for myself. You know what I mean? Because they don't know. They think you're fine. They think you're like superwoman because you can do all these things and you never, no one knows you're in your closet crying like in the middle of the afternoon. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to communicate. And I did that with my husband. I just like flat out, I was like, this is what I need in the morning. And he's like, fair enough. And he just does it for me. You know what I mean? So I also wake up earlier. So I have a little bit, more time before he gets up. But it's like, it's okay to tell people what you need. You need to get over, you know what I mean? You have to get over that and get over being so strong and letting people dump everything on you. I at one point had to like with a couple people
Yeah.
had to take a step back because I'm like it was affecting me too much. I'm an empath and I will take on as much as people give me, But at some point I was like, whoa, I've taken on too much from too many people, and now it's affecting like my quality of life and my, so, setting boundaries is, it goes multiple ways with multiple people. Um, but
Communication is key. It can be really hard to feel comfortable to express what you're feeling or what you need. But what I learned is forcing myself to do it is people are genuinely like caring and understanding and they want you to feel good. So it's just that communication element. Once you can get past that and feel comfortable doing it, it gets easier and easier, guys. And people really are understanding and they do want you to thrive. And when you're thriving, you can perform in your position better for them.
right, and because some people are like, oh, well, I don't want to appear weak, or I don't want to appear like I can't, and it's like, well, you're not, you know what I mean? But if you're silently breaking down, that's not good for you. It's not good for anyone, and nobody wants to do that to you. Nobody wants to put that kind of pressure on you or make you feel that way. But for some reason, as a society, like we struggle when we're like, hey, my mental health is being affected. Like people have a problem talking about that, or my physical health is being affected. But we just need to learn that it's okay to talk about it. And yeah, most people are going to be really open to what you have to say. Like if someone asks me, how are you doing? I'm like, well, do you want the truth? Or do you want the generic, I'm fine, how are you? Because I'm the type of person, like if something's wrong, I'm probably going to tell you, maybe not like all the details, but I'm going to be like, this is what I got going on, because people can tell anyway by my energy.
Yeah.
They're like, even I went to the chiropractor the other day. He's like, how are you? I was like, I'm okay. He's like, no, you're not. What's going on? I was like, we just got bad news about my dog. Like, so that's where I'm at today. And he's like, okay. And you know what I mean? But it's like, I've only met him 3 times and he knew that my energy was different and my response was different. So it's like people, if people know you well enough, they should be able to pick up a little bit. And if you just sit and go, nothing, 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 well, that's what they're going to think. You know what I mean? You don't have
Yeah.
like, you don't have to go into full detail, but you can just be like, hey, I got some bad news. I need to process it. I'm going to need you to like kind of back off me.
Yeah, it's totally okay to do because once you're saying nothing, 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 it's obvious at that point. But they feel uncomfortable to ask you maybe too. So
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes maybe it's super personal, and that's all you have to say. Look, I have a personal thing going on right now that I don't want to like talk about, but just know like I have a personal thing going on and it's gonna affect me. You know what I mean? So like it's okay to talk to people. And it's okay to not be okay.
I have an ebook titled that.
Yeah.
I'll add that in the description if anyone wants to download it.
Yeah, I think
That's
there was a
funny.
movie about that too. It's like I'm not okay, and it's like yeah, a lot of people aren't, and it's okay. And times we're not okay because we don't say no.
It's
We
one of
let
my favorite clients says, every day is a good day. Some days are just better than others.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're here, so I always like every day you wake up is a blessing, even if it's a bad day, even if crap happens to you, even if it's not the best day ever. Like I'm not one of those people that believes like live every day to the fullest. I'm like, well, I have to grocery shop and do laundry. Like, I'm sorry. It's just one of those, like, I don't know how to make that day epic when it's just like boring stuff. But I am grateful every day. Like my aunt died when she was my age, like abruptly. So like ever since that was almost 10 years ago, ever since then, it's very much made me like appreciate things. And that's part of why that actually is a big reason why I started saying no and restructured stuff when she passed away in 2015. It was like, what if today was my last day? What if you know what I mean? So I started kind of like reprioritizing stuff back then and just realizing that, yeah, you can't spread yourself too thin and you need to be available for your friends and family and you need to spend time with the people that you care about because you don't know when that might be gone. So I used to, when I first started real estate, I wouldn't make plans with friends. I wouldn't like, or I'd cancel and like, sorry, like I have to show a house tonight. And I'd cancel on people. And then I started going, no, that's not fair to my friends. Like I want to be, available to my clients. But like if I already made plans and then out of nowhere you ask me after I haven't heard from you for 3 months, like on this Thursday night, that's when you decide when I have it happened all the time. Like the one night I have plans, that's when you reach back out to me and you have to, and I would do it. And then I realized, no,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And if it was like, we had a crazy market a couple years ago where literally houses were gone in like 24 hours. So that you really felt, the need. But it's like, I can have people help me. I can reach out to agents in my office. If I have to pay someone, to take my client out, that's fine. Because my friends, you know what I mean? It, that's kind of my support system. Like I can't not be around my support system. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, and sometimes it is saying no to friends. Sometimes it's saying no to clients. Sometimes it's saying no to family. sometimes it's saying no to yourself.
And that, yeah, gratitude as well, just so important. Like, not a single thing's permanent, including our lives, for any of us. So just being grateful for every moment, every experience, good or bad. That's how we grow and achieve new heights of energy and positivity. So, Amber, thank you so much for your time today. Can you please tell the audience where they can find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn more than anything. So Amber Fortier on there. Um, I don't even remember what my Instagram handle is off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I just have like a personal page on there. I also run the Network Society, so it's a networking group. We meet twice a month. We have a website with all our information on there. We have Instagram, LinkedIn as well. And then my philanthropy group is women only, but if anyone's interested in information about that, it's a great group. We're doing good things for people, in Sacramento. But yeah.
I will
Oh,
put all that in the description, everybody. Thank you, Amber. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for everybody listening. I hope this was helpful to you. Try that candle meditation technique, everybody. It really helped me a lot. I had a hard time turning my brain off, and it's really beneficial, I promise. But anyway, I hope everyone has a great day. I'll catch you next time.